Scott, SJWellfire.com, Final Days Report, episode 289. Today's VCast, we cover World War III and the planned decimation of the United States military that we've been warning about the last 2 years. What to expect as well in the future with divide and conquer terror attacks to change the narrative of the death toll of Palestinian children, and the recently leaked document to displace the Palestinian people to Egypt. I'm going to share as well a strange missile allegedly reported over Michigan. And also we're going to cover Governor Newsom meets with President Xi from China. What is that about, my friends? And lastly, we're going to take a look at the Deagle report and the different players. And I want to also put the lens on Israel. And for those of you not familiar with the Deagle report, it is a suspected globalist Illuminati think tank, and they literally said the West will lose up to 77%. I think that's the highest percent of population lost by 2025, including America, USA, many European countries. So what is the prediction for Israel? Can be an eye-opener, my friends. First story I want to cover, personal story. I have a friend who follows the channel. One of his buddies, my understanding was last week he was in Wayland, Michigan, and he saw this missile shoot up, and he took a video of it. And you can obviously see, if you're watching on a video, this contrail and this light shooting up. And what was strange with this, and I'm calling it a missile, we couldn't tell if it was a missile. It actually hovered, and again, I saw the video, it hovered, and then it would go basically dark, and then all of a sudden, a couple seconds later, it would ignite, and you heard this. It was strange. Showed it to another Christian buddy as well that was in the conversation, and we were speculating. It reminds me potentially of some sort of defense system where this technology, they might shoot something up, and maybe it's an Iron Dome. But what was crazy is he could not send me the video. We tried multiple ways, and I happened to be in my hometown this week helping out my family. That's why I haven't done a podcast in a while, helping set up family members' wood supply, and then helped my 80-year-old dad rake. And so that's why, again, I've been out of pocket for the last week. But what was crazy is I filmed my friend's cell phone. And I went to go post the video and just say, what is this? It's a little odd. The videos were erased off of my cell phone. And we did a podcast, Final Days Report, episode 123, DARPA maps truth to mainstream news to be able to shut down viral videos. And this reminds me of what people saw in San Diego, except that came down, this one light came down and then separated into 4 massive bright lights. Very, very similar situation. New technology, potentially, not 100% sure, but the point is we are ramping up for war, obviously. And this one creeped me out. California Governor Newsom has surprise meeting with China's leader Xi amid warm welcome in Beijing. Now, why in the world is a governor of California meeting with the president of China? It's unbelievable. And again, this is a Watchman's News ministry. I would have dreams that would come true on a personal basis, multiple dreams on a personal basis. And then I would see the future of World War III, the Antichrist, all of it, right? And I had a dream, and I called it California Remnant, where just a select few Christians were walking the beaches of California, and military equipment littered. I mean, it was just dark, dark, dark. So are we getting sold out, my friends? And if you live in California, I would pray, where does the Lord need you to be? Because he might protect you. This just came, when I saw this headline, I'm like, this is creepy, my friends. We're getting set up. Obviously, the borders are wide open. There are estimates of, I think, 6 million Chinese military-age men that are here legally. If 10% of those are soldiers, what's going to happen? And you think about Hamas and all the different terror cells coming through. We've covered this at length. But let's continue, folks. According to the Deagle report, the United States must fall and become a third world country. their own words. And this is just another reminder about how they're decimating the U.S. troops. Let's read. U.S. troops, guinea pigs. Hate China campaign means Fukushima seafood for military. This article goes on to say this radiated fish, because remember, they dumped the radiation into the ocean recently, and we're buying up their seafood and giving it to military soldiers. We're jacking them with all the as the days of Noah devil juice. Oh, look, Mr. Emmanuel, the former president's Barack Obama's henchman, who is the U.S. ambassador to Japan, made the announcement during an interview with Reuters. It's going to be a long-term contract between the U.S. and armed forces and the fisheries and co-ops here in Japan. Emmanuel said the best way we have proven in all the instances to kind of wear out China's economic coercion is come to the aid and assistance of the targeted country or industry. I go back to that last story I just read about the governor of California going to meet Chief. They're our enemy. What's he doing priming the pump for a potential invasion? And those are my words. It's wicked, my friends. Remember what happened in Hawaii? The green lasers that were seen over Hawaii before the fire. The green lasers measures the topography. It's proven. Continuing on the destruction of the U.S. military, this is from RT. Multiple U.S. bases attacked with missiles and drones. Militias in Iraq and Syria have defied American warnings and vowed to keep up the airstrikes. Iranian-backed militias have attacked 4 U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria in a 24-hour period. We should not even be in Syria. Syria did not invite us there. We're stealing their oil. The attacks came after U.S. forces launched airstrikes against Iranian targets in both countries. Just goes on to talk about how they hit multiple bases. And again, this is an end of days Watchman News Ministry. We believe in Acts 2. Old men will have dreams, young people have visions. I had this dream of an American soldier crying in fear. They were left. So check out the podcast Military Left Behind Again, where I cover that dream. And it just reminds me of what's happening. So as World War III comes about, our military, I think they're in 80 to 90 different countries. They're going to be abandoned. Do not sign up your kids for this draft. Do whatever you can to not have them be involved in any of this nonsense. Switching gears, if you follow our ministry, we have a position, and we're not saying thus says the Lord, but it's more and more looking like it, that the 10 kings of the end of days kingdom just might be tech companies. I'm working on a podcast called AI Rapture or Digital Immortality, and it is looking wicked, right? Klaus Schwab said the one world government will look like Google 3.0. So many different proof points, right? The 10 kings will have one mind, one hive mind. 5G, 6G, fake Holy Ghost, quantum computer, fake God with artificial intelligence, and the Antichrist will have this fake resurrection and be all-knowing like God. It's a great imitation, my friends. But I found this interesting. Israel threatens to destroy Musk's Starlink. Elon Musk has promised to help humanitarian organizations to stay connected amid an information blackout in Gaza. Find it fascinating, my friends. It says the 10 kings will hate the whore. And I did a Bible study, Final Days Report, episode 257, where I really go over the World War III players, the whore versus the woman, AIB system, and Jerusalem's role. What happens in Jerusalem? Check out that VCast. But going back to CO4, World War III, the players are being aligned. The chess pieces are in place. Turkey threatens to declare war on Israel. During a speech at a rally this afternoon, Mr. Erdogan accused Israel of war crimes and presented Hamas as freedom fighters. President Erdogan stated that attacks on Gaza amounted to a massacre, which infuriated Israel and caused it to rescind its diplomatic mission. He is claimed to have told hundreds of thousands of participants that Turkey can come at any night unexpectedly during the same speech. And the speech, the crowd was impressive. I mean, it was pretty big. Now, what's crazy is we continuously get played the same sound bites. As a former marketer, with the new House Speaker as well. But let's read definitive break. Israel puts Russia and Turkey in the axis of evil. Erdogan, the Israelites are criminals and terrorists. They will pay a heavy price. Folks, your kids are going to be drafted as Turkey and other Muslim nations get involved. And you think about the deliberate arming of the Muslim nations, of all the equipment that was left behind in Afghanistan, the billions of dollars given to Iran. They're setting up this war. They're funding both sides. War is a racket. There's a new covenant. We need to act like Christians. October 7th was evil. There's no doubt it was evil. But it's just getting demonic. Israel has lost the moral high ground, my friends. Israel is bombing refugee camps to get a Hamas commander. Folks, let's read from CNN. Children were carrying other injured children. Witnesses describes the aftermath of the Israeli strike on Gaza refugee camp. Continue reading. An Israel strike targeting a Hamas commander in the densely populated Jabalah refugee camp in northern Gaza has left catastrophic damage and killed a large number of people, according to eyewitnesses and medics in the enclave. The devastation wrought by the strike triggered a fresh groundswell of grief over spiraling civilian casualties as Gazans awoke to another communications blackout Wednesday morning. Survivors and eyewitnesses spoke of the apocalyptic scenes in the aftermath of Tuesday's strike, which tore a massive crater through the middle of a crowded camp. And here's where it gets interesting. Jews against genocide protests. Many Jewish people now turning against the Israeli government, which they accuse of committing war crimes and genocide. So Israel, really, they have lost the moral high ground. I think the death toll is close to 10,000. A lot of kids, right? And they knew from the stand down that Hamas was going to attack. Egypt basically warned them. We've done 2 podcasts on the stand down. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. New document link on plan to expel Gaza population. Let Hamas attack and do a bunch of damage, kill their own people, and then justify going in and clearing out the land. We gave actually 5 strategic points. Check out Final Days Report episode 285 on the why. Let's read a leaked document from the Israeli Ministry of Intelligence to an Israeli news site on Monday lays out a plan to transfer more than 2 million Palestinians from Gaza to Egypt's Sinai Desert, reports Joe Loria. And this article is sick. Build new open-air prisons with tents, basically. Position it as a humanitarian playbook. Israel now is losing the narrative. So what do you do when you lose the narrative? When you lose the moral high ground, you get desperate. So that's going to actually parlay into a dream I just had that took me back. You know, if you follow our ministry, I think what makes us separate is who, what, when, where, why, and how. We try to actually be a little bit more strategic than just regurgitating the news. So Israel around the world, they're losing the moral high ground. Many liberals around the world are protesting the genocide. We just saw the leaked document that this is a plan to get rid of the people of Gaza and probably all of Palestine as well is in their lens. They want to cleanse the area, put them in concentration camps in Egypt. That's probably why Egypt actually warned Israel that something's coming with Hamas. And the fact that helicopters didn't go airborne 4 to 6 hours later, that a little pigeon, a cat would actually send off alarms. I mean, I'm not buying it for a second. I think it's pretty clear it was a stand down. That's a false flag, my friends. Sacrifice your own for the greater good is a military cry. So what does Israel do next? What does Netanyahu do next? Well, my dream, I was in this meeting, business meeting, and I think they were central bankers. Somebody I knew, I saw in my dream, he's an Orthodox Jewish man, and I saw he had a twin there. And again, it was a central banker meeting. and there were a couple other people in this meeting, and we were huddled up talking a business deal. And again, this buddy of mine is just an amazing businessman, financial businessman. I think he's a vice president now for a Fortune 100 company, last I checked. But in any event, this was definitely a central banker meeting. And they kicked me out of the meeting. They said, okay, we're done with what we're talking about for business, and you cannot hear the next stage of this meeting. And a bunch of consultant think tank types came into the meeting, and I put headphones on, but I didn't turn on the music, and I could hear everything they said. And they said, how do we solve the problem? And they said, we need to kill our own with the most gruesome ways possible, beheading of children, rape. And the bankers all smiled and they all agreed. And then the dream basically ended. Oh, and I heard in my spirit IDF. Now, to be clear, I don't know if this is allowing the Hamas attack or is this a future event of different, let's say, synagogues around the world, of Jewish people getting highly persecuted around the world. Because we'll go over some persecution that they have, but will it turn red? Will we see beheading of children? Where they need to turn the narrative of feeling sorry for the Palestinian children to then feeling sorry for the Jewish children. That's what I think the Lord showed me in this dream. And this is just horrible. This is horrible. So who could do these false flags against even potentially Christian Zionist churches? Well, mind-controlled zombies, right? If you follow our podcast, we did one on Operation Crimson Mist with this mind controlism technology. Could it be a Manchurian candidate? Could it just be potential IDF soldiers acting as Hamas? I mean, I'm calling it out, my friends. I think the Lord wants me to call it out. If we start seeing Jewish people around the world massacred, who is really doing it? And we can't put it past Hamas doing this as well, especially as the genocide of Gaza kids doesn't stop. Doesn't stop, my friends. So again, why? Why would, and I'm calling it the synagogue of Satan. Why would the synagogue of Satan kill Jews? Well, one, it's the reputation damage of this genocide that's happening with the Gaza kids, right? These war crimes. They need to turn the narrative. They need to make sure that they get on the moral high ground. And at the end of the day, these are Luciferians at the top. They don't even worship God. They worship Lucifer. It's seal 4 and seal 2 priming to bring in the Antichrist. Personally, I think it's just another stage to make it illegal to criticize Israel's actions, period. Also, it'll stop Jews around the world from protesting what is happening in Gaza. Jews are standing up and say, this is ridiculous. Have peace, my friends. Ultimately, if they destroy it all down, they can bring in this fake peace with the Antichrist and have Noahide laws that if you worship Jesus Christ under Noahide laws is execution. Another point is to get Christian Zionists in the war. This is a, Christian Zionists will say this is a biblical war. And Netanyahu basically was talking about Amalek, right? Saul needed to kill all the Amaleks. We're fighting against Amalek. This is a spirit of bloodlust. Unbelievable. And again, for my Christian Zionist friends, you need to watch for mass shootings in your church. Obviously, that's been happening the last 3-4 years, but they're trying to suck America in to fight its battle. And you need to research the USS Liberty, where I think it was 34 sailors died. An Israel jet came in and tried to sink the USS Liberty to get us in World War III. This is a similar playbook. If the Lord showed me a future event versus the stand down. And lastly, we can't forget, again, the synagogue of Satan. These are Satanists. Never forget that. They worship Lucifer. I'm going back to Albert Pike's letter where he said, the Third World War will be Jews, Christians, and Muslims and atheists all fighting and being so worn out that they will actually look for a savior, and that'll be Lucifer worship. Burn it all down to bring it all up, my friends. And so Deagle report What does the Deagel report say? We've covered this at length with United States. I think it's 77% of the population, according to the Deagel report think tank. This probably has ties to the Illuminati and these Satanists. 77% by 2025, United States. And I think UK was 78%, European countries decimated. And Israel is predicted to lose over 60% of their population. You got to ask why. They are the most poison-poked as the days of devil juice country in the world. Could that be it? Or could it be war or combination thereof? We're dealing with some sick people, desperate to bring in the Antichrist. And I don't think they care who they kill. Now, we need discernment because Jews around the world are being persecuted versus the false flags, right? So I found this article interesting. Planned Jewish Cultural Center set on fire in Muslim Russian Republic. And it goes on to say within this town, there are 900,000 Muslims that live there. And just allowing Muslims into the Western nations and with our open borders here, they're priming the sides. It's always divide and conquer, right? And the lawlessness in Europe has been happening for a while. The wave of Muslim rape cases across Europe. And so there is evil. There is total evil that happens. I saw a video, I can't get it out of my head, of this woman at a concert surrounded by 15 Muslim men, and they gang raped her. So I'm not saying Hamas and some of the Muslim people are innocent. No way. But we need discernment of what happens in the future if we start seeing horrific mutilation. Who's really doing it? And it absolutely could be a real terror attack. But keep your eyes on a swivel, my friends. I was looking up harassment of Jews on the rise. And sure, and I mean, it's mostly words, maybe a punch in the nose. And I thought this was interesting as harassment. This happened in California. White Lives Matter California, a white supremacist group, held a rally on highway overpass and displayed signs stating, "Save Gaza, no more wars for Israel." I agree with that, right? Why we cannot get sucked in to displacing the people of Gaza. There's a new covenant. We need to act Christ-like. We need to pray that souls get saved. Peace. This is insanity. I'm not buying World War III, my friends. Let's summarize, folks. We're seeing a theater of war, but really with Matthew 24, and ye shall hear of wars, rumors of wars, see that you not be troubled. Let's not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and they shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake, for Christ's name's sake. And then it goes on to talk about the rapture. Study Matthew 24. But folks, we covered the theater of war. I discussed a strange missile that a bud told me about. I saw the video myself. I actually filmed my friend's cell phone, and the videos were erased from my cell phone, not to be shared. Was this DARPA technology? I'm not sure. We're getting primed for the new axis of evil. It's marketing language, my friends. We need to pray that all sides come to Christ. This is a soul battle, ultimately. I found it interesting. Israel is being sacrificed per the Deagel report to bring on the Antichrist. And really, the reason why I didn't necessarily cover this, real Jews killed the Nephilim in the Promised Land. That's Satan's offspring. This is the synagogue of Satan that we're fighting against, my friends. And a remnant will be saved. God blinded, partially blinded, I think Romans 11 says, Jews. But read Zechariah 14, God hooks armies in to come against Jerusalem. Read Romans 11, a remnant will be saved, and Luke 21 as well. And ultimately, Christians have power over Satan. That's why Christians will be beheaded in the end of days. This theater of war, this new world order, I found it disturbing. Newsom met with Xi. Why? Why? Also, we talked about Israel has lost the moral high ground, the leaked, wicked Gaza displacement document, and then I found it interesting, Israel's war on Elon's Starlink for humanitarian purposes. They don't want information getting out about this genocide. We talked about how a camp was destroyed for a Hamas leader. Unbelievable. Israel's lost the moral high ground, so they're desperate. And we also talked about the destruction of the U.S. military, feeding our soldiers radiated fish. I mean, come on. Come on. It's crazy. These central bankers are loading both sides, right? Remember the billions of dollars that Obama gave to Iran, leaving all the military equipment in Afghanistan? We're getting primed, my friends. We're absolutely getting primed for World War III to bring in Lucifer. And then I go back to the dream I had. Will we start to see synagogues and Jewish people have just atrocities against them? And then who's really doing it? But we cannot also rule out Hamas and the horrors that they've done. I mean, ultimately, we need to pray that these wicked governments are brought down to their knees, because you think about it, if you're Muslim, Jewish, Christian, atheist, you want to go to work, you want to eat good food, have fresh water, raise your family without all this nonsense. Most people in this world have not signed up for this. Folks, if you're in a church and they're allowing this or promoting this, that it's God's will, there's a new covenant. I mean, it's a bloodlust. Those pastors that are pushing this, it reminds me of the Bible scripture, but Lord, Lord, I save people in your name. Get away from me. I did not know you. So God bless.